This episode is brought to you by Studio Network Solutions. Media teams have enough things to worry about. Storage shouldn't be one of them. That's where Studio Network Solutions comes in. SNS makes your shared storage, media management, and cloud workflows easy so you can focus on what you do best: creating. See how SNS can help your team at studionetworksolutions.com.
Have you ever watched a production and thought, wow, that lighting is perfect, but then the host stares into the void like they forgot how to read? Yeah, that's because they didn't use ICANN. See, ICANN makes top-tier studio lighting, prompters, and gear that keep productions looking and running smooth. So whether you need buttery soft LED lights or rock-solid teleprompters so you don't forget your lines, or just pro-level gear that won't let you down, ICANN has you covered. So if you want your production to look like $1 million without spending $1 million, check out ICANN. Because great lighting and a good prompter can make anyone look like a pro.
3, 2, red, 1.
Welcome to Broadcast to Post, the show where we dig into the tech shaping how we produce, connect, and communicate. I'm Michael Kamas, and today we're pulling back the curtain on one of the fastest growing visual technologies in the world. Of course, I'm talking about LED walls. You've seen them transforming stadiums, houses of worship, corporate lobbies, college campuses, and even small studios. Now, the global LED display market has now topped $24 billion with a B, and analysts forecasting that it will more than double by 2032, growing at over 10% annually by Maximize Market Research. Now, outdoor LEDs still lead the way at 51.4% adoption, lighting up stadiums, arenas, and cityscapes. But indoor LED, now around 30% adoption, is where the momentum really is. Offices, retail environments, and education spaces are embracing LED's flexibility, brightness, and seamless scalability. And here's the key driver. Over the past few years, average LED wall pricing has dropped by more than half, while energy efficiency and panel life have climbed dramatically. That means LED is now replacing projection and LCD video walls across nearly every sector, from classrooms to broadcast stages, with over 53% commercial penetration today and expected to hit 90% by 2030. So why are we talking about this now? Because Keycode Media is on the front lines of this shift. As a nationwide system integrator, we design, install, and support LED wall systems across industries, from major stadiums to college campuses and government spaces. We see firsthand how organizations are using LED not just as a display technology, but as a storytelling platform. In this episode, the LED Wall Playbook, Design and Installation Essentials, we'll explore the core considerations for any LED project, from power, cooling, and space planning to budgeting and bundled system design that make installations simpler and more affordable. So here's what's ahead. Key considerations before purchasing an LED wall. I'll walk you through how to plan your space and budget before you buy. Are LED walls still expensive? With Mike Cavanaugh and James Page of Keycode Media will join me to compare LED to projection and LCD and break down the real ROI. Next, we'll do programming for LED walls for college campuses. Autumn Jewell from Portland State University shares how LED became a daily engagement tool for their film department. And finally, Travis Tuttle from Abson joins to unpack emerging LED trends, from chip on board or COB to transparent displays, what you need to know for your next install. So, whether you're designing a sanctuary, upgrading a studio, or reimagining a corporate environment, this episode is your roadmap to LED success. So let's dive in. This is Broadcast to Post, the LED Wall Playbook. Before choosing an LED wall, it's important to step back and ask the right questions. Every space, from a corporate lobby to a worship sanctuary or production studio, has unique viewing distances, brightness challenges, and control needs. Getting these details right early on will help your team plan a system that looks incredible, performs reliably, and fits in your budget. We recommend using the following checklist to align your team internally. facilities, IT, communications, and of course leadership before reaching out to Keycode Media for quotes. Once you've discussed these questions, send your notes to Keycode Media and we'll schedule a free LED design consultation to walk through next steps, product options, and of course accurate budget ranges. So without any further ado, here are the key questions to ask before you buy an LED wall for your business. Number 1, define the purpose. The first step, and probably the most important, is the why. What's this LED wall going to do? A display built for live broadcast needs very different specs than one meant for branding or worship or even education. For broadcast and virtual production, you'll want color-accurate panels, high refresh rates, and Genlock capability to stay in sync with your cameras. Houses of worship often prioritize wide viewing angles, quiet operation, and easy serviceability. Corporate environments, on the other hand, look for slim profiles, energy efficiency, and integration with existing decor and control systems. And in education or training, the focus is on reliability, low maintenance, and integration with digital signage tools. Getting that purpose clear drives every decision that follows, from pixel pitch to processing power. Number 2, match resolution to viewing distance. Next up, pixel pitch. That's the difference between each LED, and it directly affects both image clarity and cost. Here's a simple rule of thumb. Viewing distance in feet equals pixel pitch in millimeters times 8 to 10. So, if the closest viewer is 15 feet away, a 1.5 millimeter wall will look sharp. If your audience sits farther back, say 30 or 40 feet, then a 2.5 millimeter pitch may be perfect and cost far less. Think about how you'll be showing, too. Text and graphics need finer detail. Large format video or motion content can get away with coarser resolution. Of course, Keycode Media will help you find that sweet spot between clarity and cost so you're not overbuying pixels you'll never see. Number 3, account for brightness and ambient light. Even the best wall can underperform if the environment isn't right. Brightness and ambient light can make or break image quality. For example, a 1200 nit wall may look fantastic in a studio or sanctuary, but it's going to struggle in direct sunlight. Conversely, too much brightness in a dark room can cause eye strain and wash out colors. So for indoor use, most installations live comfortably between 800 and 1200 nits. Outdoor walls often need 3000 nits or more, along with weather-rated enclosures and a higher IP rating. Also, think about ambient light control such as shades, dimmers, or sensor-based brightness adjustment, plus color calibration, which ensures every panel matches across the entire display. If your content or lighting changes throughout the day, these details are essential for consistent and high-quality visuals. Number 4, consider structure, power, and control. LED walls aren't just hang and go. They're heavy, they generate a bunch of heat, and they require careful coordination between architecture, electrical, and AV systems. So, ask yourself, how will it mount? Is it on a wall? Is it a ground stack? Or is it flown in from the ceiling? Is there enough structural support and ventilation? Is the cabinet wide enough to fix the LED and provide adequate ventilation? And how's your power distribution? Are they clean circuits? Is there surge protection? And do you have a UPS backup? Behind the scenes, you'll also need processing plus control. See, that's the brain that scales, syncs, and manages your content. LED controllers handle color correction and signal routing, while your processors tie in your sources, such as HDMI, SDI, NDI, or IP-based feeds. And with modern platforms like Crestron or Extron, non-technical users can easily run presets or switch sources with a single touch. A qualified integrator like Keycode Media can coordinate all of these disciplines, so your installation is safe, code compliant, and seamless to operate. Number 5, plan for maintenance and TCO, or total cost of ownership. Next, let's talk budget and long-term support. The price of LED walls has come down dramatically, but smart planning still matters. In 2025, a high-quality 1.5mm LED wall now averages under $800 per square foot, which is down from $1,200 just a few years ago. But panel cost is only one part of the equation. You also need to factor in your processors, mounting hardware, power cooling, and of course service agreements. Good design decisions early on, like efficient power supplies or front surface panels, save thousands in maintenance over time. And speaking of maintenance, schedule regular calibration and firmware updates. That keeps brightness and color uniform and maximizes the wall's lifespan. Finally, remember that this is an investment meant to last 7 to 10 years plus. Also, build with flexibility. If your organization might expand or move to higher resolutions later, choose a control infrastructure that can scale. At Keycode Media, we've integrated LED wall systems for universities, broadcasters, houses of worship, corporate campuses, and entertainment venues across the country. Our approach is turnkey, covering design, installation, training, and long-term support so your team stays focused on creating content, not troubleshooting gear. So to simplify planning, we've created 3 LED wall starter bundles. The first one is what we're calling the Indoor Entry Bundle, with a bright, reliable 2.5 millimeter wall, ideal for classrooms, small studios, or conference rooms, starting around $50,000 to $60,000. We also have an Indoor Pro Bundle with broadcast-grade color, 4K workflows, and HDR performance for studios or hybrid event spaces. This starts around $110,000 to $135,000. We also have an Outdoor Bundle with weather-rated panels, wind-loaded certified framing, and Crestron or Extron control integration. These start at $80,000 to $100,000. Each of these can be customized for your space, content needs, and of course, long-term goals. So your next step is pretty simple. Review the considerations we covered today, define your purpose, your viewing distance, your environment, and your infrastructure. Then, reach out to Keycode Media for a free LED design consultation. Our engineers will review your requirements, your budget, to map out your best path forward. James, Mike, thanks for joining me today. And I want to dive right in because there's a lot to get to. It seems everywhere I turn lately, people are talking about LED walls, whether it's stadiums or training centers or just corporate lobbies. But the big surprise for me seems to be that prices are actually coming down. Mike, maybe you can shed some light on this.
A lot of it's just efficiency of production. Been a lot of competitive things going on within the market, but we've seen almost a 50% drop per LED panel over the last 4 years, which is really impressive, allowing people to really have a lot more options than just a standard LCD in a conference room.
And James, what else is causing this?
Well, production efficiencies. As more and more people buy LED, obviously through economy of scale. There's a lot of increased competition in the market now. There's more players in this space. And a lot of it's just customer education. They're realizing that they have the choice of an LED wall now versus like a traditional flat panel display. So all of those things are kind of driving more and more product into the market.
Okay, so if I'm a school or a training center and I'm looking at a lobby display or maybe a performance venue upgrade, what does that actually mean for my budget?
Yeah, so the big factor is the pitch of the LED, right? Which is the number of millimeters between each LED. And the finer that is, the more expensive it is, and the further away it is, the less expensive it is. So the standard kind of pitches are between 2.5 and 3.9. That ranges anywhere between like 600 to 1,800 bucks a square meter. That's a great sweet spot for schools, community centers, event venues. When you get into outdoor venues, it's actually a little bit less expensive. It's about 300 bucks a square meter. And if you need to waterproof it and weatherproof it, you have to add another $150 to $200 for that. If you're indoors and you're looking to shoot like XR or against a video backdrop, you need a finer pitch, and the price is a little bit high there. It's about $3,200 per square meter. But all of these prices are about half of what they were about 4 years ago.
That's just a massive shift. And I know you've both been hands-on with recent installs. Mike, maybe you can share a story about how this price shift has actually played out with a client of Keycode's?
Well, one of the aspects is they had looked at budget, and traditionally the LED side had been a little bit further out of range versus put in LCDs, and everything from emergency control centers to larger scale lobbies where where you're not stuck to that 16:9 ratio to have a unique look and difference. And the LED, both on flexibility of deployment as well, the ability to basically be maybe about 20% more than getting an LCD, you can get an LED system.
And James, you've been working hands-on with a lot of clients as well. What else would you add to that?
Well, we're working on projects, everything from 150-foot wide LED walls down to like pillars in corporate lobbies. The big difference, of course, is you're no longer stuck by that 16:9 ratio that you would be on an LED wall. The processors now are a lot cheaper, more effective. The graphic systems are more powerful, so you can do much more interesting and creative layouts than just a rectangle. And that's really opening a lot of options at the architecture stage when people are designing these spaces, that they're now considering LED from the beginning rather than it being an afterthought.
So, as I mentioned at the beginning, it seems that everyone we talk to nowadays are interested in LED walls. And it seems to kind of transcend different verticals. But what are the most common projects that you're seeing come into KeyCode right now? Maybe, Mike, maybe you can give us an idea of that?
It really ranges from large conference centers. A lot of educational venues are really looking for that. We have a contract with the University of California that is managed by a company called Omnia Partners, allowing people to buy at standardized base pricing, leveraging the University of California's $30 million purchasing power that they've set. So it's really across the board, from outdoor, where people are looking at ways to leverage video to get noticed, and LED allows them to do that in a much larger scale than traditionally has been available in the US.
James, KeyCode is obviously nationwide, and so we have different use cases in different areas of the country. So, what other areas are you seeing that our customers are asking for LED walls for?
Yeah, it's a lot of places like House of Worship, which have traditionally been projection based on the stage. Similarly, conference centers and meeting rooms where large screens, big projectors were the way to go. Now that they're looking to refresh those spaces with an AV refresh, oftentimes the LED wall is coming in at an attractive price compared to a new screen and a new projector. And that also gives that space a lot more functionality when it's not just being used in that presentation mode. And it's just asking the question of, like, is this within our budget? And it's been a surprise to most clients that, yes, it is attainable for the price of doing a straight refresh on that projector and the screen. One of the other considerations to take into account this change is not only the reduction in cost of the equipment, but also the simplicity and the speed of the install. Some small form factor LED walls we can install in a day.
Excellent. So I think the key takeaway here is, if you're thinking about LED walls, don't assume it's out of reach, right? Prices are down, the technology is up, and we here at KeyCode Media can help you on your next project. In this segment, we're shifting perspectives a little bit. So often when we talk about LED walls, it's from the engineer's point of view, right? How to design it, spec it, and install it. But today's story is a little bit different. At Portland State University's School of Film, a new LED wall, just about 10 by 5 feet, has completely transformed a shared student space. It's not the biggest LED wall we've featured by any stretch, but the impact has been incredible. Instead of just being a screen, it's become a tool for communication, creativity, and community. Joining me today is Autumn Jewell, office assistant at the Portland State School of Film, who's been leading that transformation, turning the technology into an experience. Autumn, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Left for a while now, and can you start by describing what the role involves and how you were traditionally reaching students and faculty? I mean, was it things like newsletters and social media or events?
Yeah, absolutely. So a big part of my role is getting information that students need to know to them. And when I first came in, we were doing that mainly through our weekly email newsletter, our Instagram, and then our few physical bulletin boards that we have in the building that we have our classes in. And then right around the time I was coming in, we got the LED wall.
When you learned that the LED wall was being added to the building, what were those first conversations like? Did you start thinking about ways your department could make it more meaningful?
Absolutely. So it was replacing what was there before, which was an analog bulletin board, which we had been using to put, printed flyers or just text on printer paper. Originally we were kind of thinking along those same lines, since it was going the same place, how do we display text and flyers, but pretty quickly we realized the potential for video was going to be huge for a film department. So one of the favorite ideas we picked right away was displaying a reel of student work. And that has stuck on the wall since it went up because people really, really loved it. The building is also used for screenings and other events that bring people who are outside of the campus community in. And we realized since it was so eye-catching, that would be a great way to promote things like the opportunity to donate or contribute to the program. So we have included QR codes and really quick ways to kind of grab people and let them figure out more about our program and contribute if they want to.
Well, you've mentioned that there's, several things that you're displaying on there. So obviously you're curating what appears on the screen. So what does that process look like? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people want to get their content on that wall. So how are you kind of handling the creation of the content and then getting it to the wall?
Yeah, so a lot of my assignments come to me from like professors or the director of the department deciding what they want to promote to students and also what kind of information for students, kind of in the weeds, some things about registration or classes coming up. But important information that we want to make sure that they are not unaware of because, that kind of confusion can be really frustrating, but it can be hard to get people's attention. So it's a lot of taking sort of information that sounds boring but is necessary and then turning it into something that is eye-catching and communicates how important it's going to be to students walking by. So a lot of that I'll do in Canva. I'll take text that I'm given from professors or my supervisor and try to turn it into a flyer that when a student walks by and sees it on the wall, they're gonna want to take a second to read it and get the information they need.
Of all the things you've displayed on the wall, obviously doing something that works better on a large format monitor is going to be more eye-catching. So can you give us an example of maybe a project or media that went on there that took advantage of that large space to really grab people's attention?
Yeah, I would say, definitely our reel that we have of student work that comes up. Being able to see their work on the big screen is something that students come in and talk about all the time that they're really excited about. And then we've even just had the whole screen taken over by like one film for, a day or whatever, because we're just so excited about, something, an award it won, or it's, a student's new project that it's really great. And I think having it on such a large, bright space really gives people a sense of pride about it and kind of communicates how proud, the school is of them. Another segment I like to include on the LED wall is a list of movies that are playing in Portland this week. And I think that kind of grabs people definitely walking by. I hear people talking about oh, I want to go see that. And I think especially for film students, it's kind of a fun way to remind them, hey, we all have this common interest and maybe I'll see you there. And yeah, kind of bring people into the local community of film.
So I also know that you've been planning some events that integrate the LED wall. So it's not just for show, it's actually being used as part of a presentation or a gathering. Can you give us some ideas or examples of how that's being used in those gatherings?
Yeah, so our media board is located in a little bit of an awkward spot in the building for hosting events, but it has a lot of potential, I think, for the things that we've been talking about are like screenings. Obviously, we're a film school, so film screenings would be really fun. PowerPoint presentation style things, especially, to catch people kind of going by, walking to class or whatever. And then we even talked about doing a staff game night. And yeah, so it definitely has a lot of potential for fun and kind of, walk-in events being in the hallway. Yeah.
It sounds like that the LED wall has kind of changed the sense of community around the School of Film. How do you hope to increase that in the future utilizing this technology?
For sure. I think going forward, we're always kind of trying to figure out the most efficient way to use how attention grabbing it is. So, but also balancing that with things that are more like fun, like the student reel, that's not necessarily important information that students need to know, but it is one of those sense of community building things that is just as important. So yeah, we're always kind of teasing out and weeding out what is kind of deserving of the media board presence. And going forward, we just try to kind of narrow it down and add in things that make more sense.
I absolutely love the examples you shared because it shows that the innovation isn't just about scale, right? It's about creativity and then connection to the community. What you and your team done have kind of proves that even a modest installation, right, 10 by 5, can completely change how people engage in that space. So Autumn, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
In this segment, we're diving into LED wall trends and how they impact you. Technology in LED design is moving very fast. Transparent LED, chip on board, immersive floors, and curved wall installs. And it's reshaping everything from live events to corporate lobbies. Joining me today is Travis Tuttle, Key Account Manager at Absent, to break down not only what's new in LED technology, but also what it really takes to design, install, and support LED walls successfully. Travis, welcome.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Excellent. So let's get started. LED walls have really taken off over the past decade, from massive installations like the MSG Sphere to small college campus projects. Where are you seeing the most commonly used today? And Travis, what's driving demand across live events, corporate, and broadcast?
Yeah, that's actually a really common question that we receive. Like, where are the installs taking place? What's the most common place that people are doing the installs now? And today, where we're at, there's not a most common place. I can't say like, oh, it's only happening here or it's only happening there. We're seeing LED technology being installed everywhere. So you referenced the MSG Sphere, the Las Vegas Sphere. Those are probably like some of the most like popular, like, wow, that's amazing installs. But we're seeing these everywhere. Corporate lobbies, college campuses, house of worship is extremely popular. But really, like, the biggest driver now is the expectation for a visual impact. So, like, when I show up, it needs to be awesome, right? And as an end user, they realize this, and so they want to get people back. And so they really have to make this awesome visual impact, this huge, like, call it a wow factor, something that's going to command attention for when people are showing up. But you also have to be able to communicate a brand story instantly. So think in corporate education space, LED is much more of a collaboration communication than just a wall decoration or like, ooh, that's cool to have. Think of like an all hands room, lecture halls, hybrid meeting rooms. And then take it a step further, which you also referenced for live events and broadcasts. It's all about flexibility. So LED gives producers creative control over shape, resolution, brightness. And even in those environments where a projector would traditionally struggle, like LED doesn't have that problem anymore. So it's really cool the things that people are doing now in places they're putting them in.
At the beginning, I kind of touched on how the cost of LED has come down significantly over the past few years. How is the cost kind of influencing the choice between LED projectors and monitors? Are there new use cases emerging that weren't common a few years ago?
The change in cost over the last couple of years has completely changed everything, right? So it used to be that it was, only for the rich or the rich and famous, or maybe your corporate 100 people that had, oh, we've got excess money, we can do that. And so now it's become like this practical choice with the cost coming down, where you don't have to be, this big huge corporate company to be able to afford it and to be able to put it in. So take, for example, the company that used to put in LCD video walls. Well, that's out now. And now the price has come down that they can put in a direct view LED, and your cost is actually probably going to be the same, but your installation is going to be easier, and you've got a longer lifespan on them. We kind of touched on it before in your last question, but executive boardrooms, retail signage, even like esports arenas, classrooms are all getting LED into them, and it's really making a statement. So if I'm an end user and I've got this really cool widget that I'm selling, but this is like a 7-figure or even like a high 6-figure widget that I'm selling or service that I'm selling, like, you're not bringing in, you have to really set like the standard for when people come to meet with you. And so that's where LED is coming into play and making much more of a statement than it ever has in the past.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the technology itself. What have been the biggest advances in LED walls over the past 5 years? And how are those changes affecting how they're being used?
Oh man, drastic changes. So great question. I would say let's start with pixel pitch, right? So even as close as 3 years ago, 4 years ago, like we were talking about like a 2.5 to a 1.5 pixel pitch, being like that's a really tight pixel pitch. Now we're under a millimeter, right? So your 0.6, your 0.7, your 0.9, those have come on board, and even in those close viewing areas, it's making a huge, profound difference, and they look absolutely amazing. HDR and color accuracy, that's another place we've had huge improvements. But what it's doing is giving the cinematic quality to the LED displays that wasn't there before. And if it was there before, boy, oh boy, was it expensive. So that's really come down. And then we've got some easier technology changes that have taken place. Front serviceability and modular design. So that's making installation and maintenance much easier. So now if I have a pixel that's gone out, and let's say it's in the bottom right-hand corner, I don't have to tear the whole wall apart to fix it. I could take that out because it's front service and put a new module back in, and I'm up and running with virtually no downtime. And then the reliability and the lifespan, right? So we're really talking about 100,000 hours, 10 years on these if they're taken care of. And so all of these advancements put together have really changed what we've seen in the last few years.
Well, one technology I didn't hear you mention, but I'd love for us to talk about is chip on board, or COB technology. It's been a really hot topic. Can you explain what it is and why it's significant for end users?
Yeah, chip on board, or commonly referred to as you said, COB, has really changed things over the last couple of years. So basically, to make it really easy, is COB is a different way of packaging the diodes. So there's kind of like two technologies that are really profound and out there. I mean, there's more than two, but the two big ones right now. So I could take my diodes, which are basically little tiny light bulbs, and I could put them right on the surface. And that's your surface mounted diode, or your SMD, as it's commonly referred to. That technology has been around for forever. The newer one, the COB, what I'm doing is I'm putting those diodes integrated right onto the circuit board. And then I'm putting epoxy finish over the top of them. So now it's extremely durable. I don't run the risk of people spilling on it, people bumping into it, and damaging it. I'm also giving visual consistencies throughout the entire board, the entire wall. So that's going to help out a ton. But then for the end users, what this is meaning is it's more robust. It's easier to clean. It's easier to handle. It's easier to maintain. But I'm not going to be worried about those high traffic areas. People are coming by, accidentally bump into it. I don't have to worry about any of that.
So if we look beyond COB, what other trends are you seeing in LED? Things like transparent LED, LED floors, and curved walls. How are these innovations expanding creative possibilities for organizations?
Yeah, I mean, you just named all of them. There are so many cool things that are either out right now or coming or are here and are going to just get better over time. So, just let's go back a few years. It was a 16:9. That's what I can do. And if it's beyond that, then it's going to either be hard or it's just not going to be, it's going to be too expensive, right? So now I've got this transparent LED. I can actually literally put it on the glass of a window. It's not going to block my light that's coming through. I'll still get about 80% of the light that comes through. And it's not disruptive to the architecture that's already there. LED floors, you talked about curved floors. Curved and flexible tiles that I can use now. And even let's take it a step farther and let's talk about ceiling installations that we can do now. So you're getting into this whole immersive setup. It's really, really cool, the things that are coming on board. But my curved and flexible LEDs are allowing us to do things that we couldn't do before. So think of that artist that is out on tour, right? They don't want to do a show that they don't want to do 7 shows that are exactly the same. Now they have the opportunity, they can change the entire stage, they can change that backdrop. They're still using the exact same material that they had from, if they're going from Phoenix to Salt Lake and Salt Lake to Denver and Denver, they're using the same material, but they could put it into a different format. And so it makes this really, really cool environment, but this great show that people are going to. So like every show is completely different. And these artists are able to expand and just make it this really, really cool experience.
I think that's a great segue to talking about design and implementation. So when a facility decides they want an LED wall, what's the most common mistake you see in the planning or the design phase?
Oh, I'm just buying a big gigantic TV and I'm just going to plug it right in and I'm done. Right. And in some like now manufacturers have what they're calling the all-in-one. And so those are going to be specific sizes, right around your 108 size, right around your 136-inch size, and then maybe right around your 163-inch. And every manufacturer is a little bit different, but within a couple of inches of all those, right? And those are gigantic TVs. You plug it in, and you're off and running. But when you get into your more complex system, something that's bigger, something that's outside of it, maybe I'm going to be doing a 32x9, maybe I'm doing an ultra wide. That's not a plug and play. And so you have to really think of this as like a system. And I'm going to design a system, I'm going to maintain a system. And a lot of times people are just like, hey, I need a 1.5. Well, why? Well, that's what I was told. By who? My brother's girlfriend's aunt's uncle, he's in the AV business, and he said I need a 1.5. Well, there's a lot more to it. Well, how far away are you going to be? What content are you showing? Are we showing custom content that you created? Are we showing live sports? Are we showing something that you pulled off of YouTube? So your content and the strategy behind that, your lighting, all that needs to be taken into consideration. So if you bring somebody like Absent and Keycode in the very beginning, before your walls are up, before everything's done, then we can help save those headaches for you.
Well, we don't want to keep all the information for ourselves. So maybe we should address what organizations should know about power, HVAC, rigging, and other behind-the-scenes requirements. So maybe we could cover a few of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so we know a couple of things, right? Like the LED, these walls, they're gonna generate heat. Now, this isn't the heat that it used to be. So going back a few years, if you stood in front of these walls, you'd get a sunburn. That's not the case today. These are putting out far less heat than they did before, but it still does. We know that they draw consistent power. We know that they require structural support. So you really need to collaborate with facilities and engineering early in the project so that everybody's on the same page. Each display has a unique power distribution and thermal management needs. And so if those aren't addressed up front, that's where you can run into some of your problems. And we want to be able to alleviate all of those problems. And then you kind of touched on it a little bit too. Your rigging is another critical area that can't be overlooked. We don't want this stuff to fall. And that's a worst case scenario. We don't want to get it up and it seems like everything's good and then it falls. So, you really need to go into the planning and that's why, we have these architects that can go through and tell us what we can and can't do. But if you ignore that step, it's not going to work out well.
So earlier in our conversation, you mentioned how these installations need to have the wow factor, right? They really have to be impactful. So how would you say that the content strategy and the playback system need to evolve alongside of the installation itself?
Yeah, so the content is so important, right? The LED is only gonna be as good as the content that's driving it, and a lot of organizations underestimate that, right? They're so fixed on the size or the pixel pitch, but really we need to talk about like what content are you putting on this? Is it, like I said before, is this going to be live? Is this going to be videos that you created using your iPhone? And so there's so many important things that go into it. But now with LED, we have a much wider color gamut than we had the past. We have higher brightness and custom aspect ratios. And so all of that needs to go in there and to be part of the strategy. Your content strategy and what it's going to be is so important. Who's creating it, what playback system is going to manage it. But a good processor, a good media server is going to make the difference between a static wall and a living, we'll call it a communication tool.
Well, now let's kind of transition into the support and long-term success. So how do LED walls differ from projectors or LCD walls in terms of upkeep and service design?
Yeah, so the great part about LED is it's much more stable and low maintenance long term. If you're going to have any issues with LED, it's almost always in the beginning, right? During install, maybe diodes got damaged during shipping or something like that. But we don't have bulbs to replace. We don't have any filters to clean. We don't have any seams to align. That's a problem with LCD. Video wall. Somebody bumps into it. Now it's out of alignment. I've got to get back into alignment. And the bezels on these are so thin that that's a challenge. So let's just remove the bezels altogether and do LED. But when you really look at it, over a 5 to 10 year span, LED always tends to be a lower total cost of ownership than LCD or projectors are going to be. One of the cool things that we've got now is we've actually got like a 55-inch LED screen that can replace video walls. They have the VISA mount on them. So you can literally take off the LCD screen, put up an LED, no bezels whatsoever, and continue on in life. It's pretty cool.
Well, Travis, thanks for unpacking both the exciting trends and the practical realities of LED walls. For those watching, the takeaway is pretty clear, is that LED technology can unlock incredible experiences, but success comes from thoughtful design, preparation, and of course, long-term planning. So thanks again to Travis from Absen, and thanks to all of you for joining us in this segment.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This episode is brought to you by Ross Video. From video switchers, graphics, and routing, whether SDI, IP, or even in the cloud, Ross makes live production easy. Trusted everywhere from the biggest sports stadiums to city council meetings, newsrooms, and more. Are you ready to upgrade your workflow? Keycode Media offers the best Ross video pricing and a free consultation, so you get the right products the first time. Trust the experts at Keycode Media and book today at keycodemedia.com. This episode is brought to you by Avid Technology, the industry standard for storytellers. Hollywood editors, chart-topping musicians, and newsrooms rely on Avid. From Media Composer to Pro Tools, shared storage to newsroom tools, Avid keeps productions moving. Keycode Media delivers the most competitive Avid pricing, plus a free consultation to ensure your workflow is built right the first time. Count on the trusted team at Keycode Media. Book today at keycodemedia.com.
Thanks for watching Broadcast.
Thanks, guys.
Please make sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive future episodes. Follow Keycode Media on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram to receive news on additional AV, broadcast, and post-production technology content. See you next time, folks.